Southern chef extraordinaire, Natalie Dupree. I know your specialty is Southern cuisine.
Right.
One of my favorites, without a doubt. When did you know that this was the profession that you wanted to work in?
Well, let's see. Oh, too long. I think I went to the Cordon Bleu in 1969. But before that, I had wanted to be, I had been taken over as a cook in an international boarding house one summer in college, and I loved it. But my mother said, gosh, you'd have to work at night with men, and it's hard work, and who do you know that's ever made a career of it? Please don't pursue it. So I didn't pursue it for a while. But then when I wound up at the Cordon Bleu and I realized how much I loved it, I just decided it didn't matter. I'd figure out a way to do it. And I have.
And you certainly have. I'd say, 300 national TV appearances? 10 cookbooks? Yes.
Right.
God bless the mothers, the families in general. They're well-meaning, but they tend to at times be dream stealers. But in your case...
Yeah, I was lucky.
Yeah.
I was just lucky. God bless Julia Child, really.
Tell me about Miss Child, please.
Well, Julia Child made it fashionable to cook just about the time that I left the Cordon Bleu. And she gave a lot of us hope and incentive that we could do something in the field. And she came to my graduation. She just happened to be in London that day at the London Cordon Bleu, and I said, what should I do with the rest of my life? And she said, teach. Ooh. I didn't do it right away, but then I wound up doing that. And cookbook writing and television, and what I'm doing right now is just another form of teaching. You're educating.
And that's a terrific thing. I myself do that. I love the give back. It makes you feel great, doesn't it?
It does indeed.
Yes.
And, jazz and Southern cuisine have a real relationship. Art and knowing things naturally, following the way that you do things naturally.
Yes. And you improvise, too, when you cook.
But improvising at the same time. Which is really what this whole shrimp and grits thing is people taking one area and doing it their way. Which is what I've been doing with this book I've just written on shrimp and grits.
Okay, you have shrimp, you have grits. Now what?
Well, let's see. Let's just picture you live on the coast of the Carolinas. You wake up hungry, and you've got grits, and the water is a little brackish in the kitchen, but you put your grits on to cook, and you walk out to the dock, and you throw a net, pull it up, and you have a couple of hands full of grits, maybe some real tiny ones, because it's early in the morning before you go to work, and they're just trying to get into the marsh with the rising tide, and you pull them up, and you go into your kitchen, and you throw them on top of the grits with a lot of butter, and you eat them. Maybe you might even eat the shell and all, because they're so tiny. Oh. Or you might cook them and then peel them and then put them on top.
People actually get to live that way, that natural.
Well, yes, and generations of people along the Gulf and Atlantic seacoast have been able to do that, and whether it's individuals or those large, beautiful shrimp boats that have wild American shrimp now, catch wild American shrimp, and it's a wonderful thing. This whole symbiotic nature between shrimp and grits. It's a very natural thing on the coast.
And this has been a recipe that people have been, or I guess a style of cuisine that people have indulged in, I guess, for generations, huh?
Yeah. Well, the earliest recorded recipe is about the turn of the century, like 1920, something like that, of the last century. So that's generations.
Now,
and probably before that, probably nobody ever thought to write it down. And that's what people had for breakfast.
Wow.
Pretty good breakfast before you went to school or before you went out to work the rest of the day.
Very healthy, a low fat, full of protein. Yeah, I'd say so. I'd say so. Now, what are some of the things you can do to? How can I?
Well, there are so many things you can do.
Yeah, let's enhance this a little.
Well, first you have to start with good ingredients. Getting that wild American shrimp that's certified, and there's a little mark that comes on it is important when you go to the grocery store. And not getting an imported shrimp that might not have the same flavor or be as succulent. And supporting our shrimpers, which we think is really important on the coast.
Okay,
I'll
buy
shrimp
that.
Industry.
Sure.
Both here and at the Gulf Coast. I mean, South Carolina and the Gulf Coast. And then getting some grits that you like. Now, I do not like instant grits, but I will use quick grits or even the stone ground grits. Stone ground grits take much, much longer. Instant grits are shorter, and quick grits are somewhere in between. And I'll cook about 5 minutes. And then how do you cook your grits? You can cook them in water, milk, shrimp stock, anything you'd like, chicken stock, anything that will give them some flavor and give you some nutrition. I personally like to cook them in milk and a little water so they don't burn, and then to add whipping cream towards the end. And then add something like Parmigiano Reggiano, and all of a sudden I have a very quick dinner, and then saute those shrimp up quickly and throw them on top. In days gone by, I have added spinach, but I probably shouldn't say that this week.
Yes, ma'am.
But
not this week. You sure?
But, some sort of greens. I've certainly added little baby turnip greens, when they first come up in the fall and in the early spring. And I've added those to the grits and just stirred them in to give it all a meal in one. Or you can top it with bacon and tomatoes, basil. Some people like kielbasa. Men particularly, I think, love the sausages, kielbasas and andouilles.
Sure.
And that gives it more of the Mississippi, Louisiana flavor. So it's just endless, the variations. I have about 65 recipes in this book.
The book is actually called
Natalie Dupree, Shrimp and Grits.
I mean, it couldn't be more to the point, huh?
That's right.
That's terrific.
It's the first book about shrimp and grits that's ever been written, and it's just sort of something that's caught on, that's served all over the United States. Someone told me the other day they went to a restaurant in Denver that was serving shrimp and grits. It's everywhere. It's just very popular. Grits, is sort of southern polenta.
Sometimes I'm in atmospheres where I would never in a million years have thought that somebody might ask for grits. Or I might be with a person from a different country perhaps, and, I would expect other than grits to come out of their mouth. But when they do, I look at them and I go, grits? Oh, yes, I love grits. Oh, really?
Did you grow up with grits?
I really didn't, but I'm a transplant from north to south, so I became acquainted with grits. It took a while. No, but once you get the taste, it's a very happening quote unquote thing, really.
Well, it's just ground corn.
Yeah. Yes.
And so anything goes well with it. You can, when they're cold, you can do what you see with polenta. You can just saute them,
right,
or put them in the oven to heat them up, make little cakes and saute them. So there's just a lot of things to do.
I love the way you speak. That's one very, very nice trademark of yours. You really do relate beautifully with an everyday person.
Well, I think that's what I am. I have 9 grandchildren. I have a husband that's very, very busy. He's written as many books as I have, and his are more important. So I have to keep on the move, and I really understand how we all live. But that doesn't mean that I don't yearn for that place where you can kick back and cook your grits barefoot.
A lot of folks get very complicated, a lot of the chefs.
Chefs do complicated things because they like to, because they have lots of people to assemble it for you. So you can have one person frying the bacon, and you can have another one frying the kielbasa, and you can have somebody else chopping the herbs, and you can have someone else doing this. And then each person puts one thing on the plate, and out it comes. But, I don't have that in my kitchen. I do have a husband that will peel those shrimp. If I get him fresh shrimp in the shell, he will peel them. And he likes to take out the veins. I don't really think it's as important as he does, but as long as he does it, I don't care.
Sometimes reheating, especially now with the microwave, when you can tell, and there's just a way, if it's not done right, if it's a little too carelessly done.
Oh, it gets so dry.
Dry, and it's just doesn't, the taste is just not there.
Right.
When it's done right, you can't tell the difference.
Right. So you have to be very careful, and you have to time it. I mean, it's important if you want to learn how to reheat something to sort of time it in your own microwave about how long a certain kind of thing takes. There's certainly no excuse for it if you're dining out, because the restaurant should have done it before and know just exactly how long that will take. Be perfect. And usually when they reheat, they run it into a very hot oven.
I got to tell you, time is a little too short around this place, you know? But before we go...
Well, it's been lovely.
Oh, same here. Natalie Dupree, tell us, is your book, I gather people can pick up your latest book, Shrimp and Grits Cookbook, anywhere?
Yep, Natalie Dupree Shrimp and Grits is anywhere. You can get it online. You can get it at all the major stores. You can order it. You can email me at nataliedupre.com. And you can ask your seafood vendor for certified wild American shrimp, and look for that little sign, and know that you are going to have a meal that you're going to lie in bed and think, this is one of the best things I've ever eaten in my life.
I love it. And on that note, I must thank you so much for being our guest on Kaufman and Company, Natalie.
Thank you so much.
All the best of success. Happy eating.